It is much appreciated, all the hard work you do. I promise you, if you go up to the Capitol, he's always up there working on something. And we appreciate you for it, Gary. We appreciate you and all you do for our state. Right now, I'd like to welcome to the stage a member of our Oklahoma County Executive Committee, a recent Harvard graduate. Where is he? There you are, Mr. Smarty Pants. Himself, Ferlin Kearns.
A recent Harvard graduate, what a deal.
We won't hold it against you.
I went up there, something possessed me about 2.5 years ago to enroll in this Masters of Finance program. So I got on the computer and next thing I knew I was enrolled. And I was sitting here thinking about this today. Jason was up here talking about the education stuff and talking about this education stuff. And when I enrolled in that program, in order to get in that program at Harvard, I had to write 3 papers. And I wrote those papers based on the education I received at a little school in Newton, Kansas, Newton High School, Newton, Kansas. I graduated in 1982. And I got to wonder, are we doing that? Are we educating our kids in that manner today? That 30 years later, if you want to apply for a graduate school, you're able to write those papers and get accepted based on what you learned in public school 30 years earlier. So before we think about dismantling public education, we might want to try a different approach because public education can work if you do it right. I started looking at this thing year and a half ago, I don't know, because there's so many people talking about it. It's a hot topic and has been for some time with the repeal of Common Core. So I went on Title 70, Oklahoma statutes. I just got on the computer and I started scrolling down that thing. Title 70, Oklahoma statutes. It was originally first drafted in 1971. And I started looking at that and I thought, my God, if I printed that thing to be that tall. And I run around the state and I've talked to hundreds of people about this, teachers and principals and superintendents and ex-superintendents and people higher up than that, but the people on the front lines. And I joke about that, it'd be that tall. Well, when I went to Cambridge, I was back there for 3 weeks in January. I had to go back there and finish that deal up, and I told the girls in my office, I said, when you're not doing anything, go back there and I want you to print Title 70. And about 2 days into that, one of them called me and said, Ferlin, we went through a whole box of paper and you're about out of ink. So we'll go get some more ink and keep printing. I'm trying to make a point here. About 2 days later, she called back again and said, your printer's running slow. It's streaking. What do you want us to do? Go get a new printer. We need to print this thing. So when I got back, they had Title 70 printed for me. And I'm going to move this. I don't need this. I don't want anybody. I don't want anybody to miss that. You guys over here. That is Title 70. You know, my question has always been, why in the state of Oklahoma are we absolutely incapable of educating our kids? We try and try and try. Jason talked about House Bill 1017. We were dead last in the nation when they passed House Bill 1017. 25 years later, we're still dead last. What is wrong with us in the state of Oklahoma? There's the problem. That's insane. That's our legislature's best effort at educating our kids. And if I stood it up on end, it would be about 42 inches tall. So I was always exaggerating, I thought, but in reality, I really wasn't. That's what's wrong. So I thought, I wonder what they're doing out there. I go through this thing. This is the index. We got a 100-page index for our education system. And I start going through this thing, and You know, all these different repeals, Educational Accountability Reform Act, Educational Deregulation Act, Empowered Schools and District Act. How many of these things have ever worked? And it ain't never going to work. We've got the wrong people trying to fix our education system. The legislature can't do it. They've created that. That's their best efforts since 1971, 45 years later, that's their best efforts. They can't fix this. They created it. So I thought, I wonder what they're doing out there this year. This year alone, what are they doing to fix education? So I get on my new computer, I'm trying to wear it out. That's the Education Committee alone. Over 200 bills, 4,000 pages. And the purpose of that stack is to fix that stack. How many people in this room actually think, you guys are well-educated people, responsible members of the Republican Party, how many people in this room think if we implement any part of that or all of that, that stack's going to fix that stack? If there's any legislators in the room, I want you to know there's not one person in this room that raised their hand thinking that stack's going to fix that stack. It can't be done. We got to try a different approach. Einstein said, you know, you can't fix a problem with the same mind that created it. Something to that effect. We can't fix a problem with the same thinking that created it. The legislature's not going to be able to fix it. This education savings account bill, and it's Jason's bill and Clark Jolly's bill, and I don't want to go real into the details of it. But what this bill does in a broad view, it says, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Parents, we have absolutely failed at creating an education system that can educate your kid. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to leave it. Not only are we going to allow you to leave it, we're going to pay you to go. That's how bad it is. That's how much we have destroyed education in the state of Oklahoma. We're going to pay you to take your kid out of it. It's time that we do something different. And I've got a plan, and that's why we're here today and we're launching it. I've got members of a little group we've put together. And we've got in this group Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, liberals, neocons, establishment. We've got Ron Paul people, we got John Birch people, but this is going to be a single issue group. We're not talking about anything else but education. If these people want to talk, we're not talking about an Article 5 convention, we're not talking about the Indian Cultural Center, we're not talking about the national debt. We're going to figure out a way to educate our kids, and that's the purpose of this group. The first thing that needs to happen, go through that deal right there. Anything that says anything about testing our kids or data collection or data storage needs to stop now. How many times do we need to test our kids to find out we're failing? We spend half of every dime we spend in the state of Oklahoma. We're dead last in the nation. How many billions and billions and billions of dollars do we need to spend to keep affirming the fact that we're dead last? Quit testing our kids, quit doing all this data collection. If you want to do this 5-10 years down the road to see if my plan works, that's fine. But in the meantime, I was telling my mom this other day. I took an algebra test in high school and I flunked it. And they let me retake it. A week later, I took it again and I flunked it again. And at that point, I realized, you know, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I didn't study between this test and this test, so I flunked again. And if we're not changing anything between all this testing, you know how many times we've changed the method in which we test our kids since that House Bill 1017 was created? I didn't bring my notes today. It's like 8 or 9 times. Every couple of years, we change the way we test our kids, hoping for a better result, I guess. I don't know why you would do that. We test these kids, we spend billions and billions of dollars, we send that money out to the Department of Education. They gather it up, they compile it, they sift through it, they send it to the Department of Corrections and the Department of Mental Health and all these different agencies around the state. They say, you know, we didn't like the results of that. Let's change the way we test these kids, test them again, and then they compile it and they sift through it and they do all that again, send it to all those other state agencies, and we just spend billions and billions and billions to keep confirming that we're dead last in the nation and nothing ever gets better. Number two, what I would say, moratorium on any new education bills at the Capitol. Stop it. Good, bad, or indifferent, stop digging. This is what we do when we try to fix this problem. Moratorium on any new bills. If there's something that's an emergency nature that has to be done, by all means we need to do it. But other than that, moratorium on any new bills. And then what we're going to do with this group we've put together that goes clear across the spectrum. Clear across the spectrum. I see some of these state reps out here looking at me like I'm crazy. That's crazy. I didn't create that. I didn't do that, and I didn't do that. You know, so what we're going to do, we're going to put this group together. The purpose of Title 70, it says, is to educate our kids. The Constitution requires us to do that. We're going to put that up on the wall. That's going to be our mission statement, educate our kids with this group. And like I say, we're going to be a single issue group. And we'll look at Title 70, Section 1, and say, does that do that? Yeah, it does, so we'll put it on the table. Title 70, Section 2, does that do that? Yes, it does. We'll put it on the table. Title 70, Section 3, does that do that? No, it doesn't. We're going to put it over there. And we're going to go through that entire mess, line by line, and see what we need to do, what we need to keep, what we need to take out. And the rest of that stuff, I don't know what the legislature is going to do with it. The stuff we take out may or may not be the greatest ideas ever. I don't even know. But if it doesn't fit with educating our kids, we're going to take it out and let the legislature deal with that on their own. And then in a couple of years, when we go through that, we're going to go down there with this bill. Hopefully it's about that tall. And hopefully we can find a House author and a Senate author that will carry that thing and push it through. And once and for all, we'll get this education system fixed. Like I said, look around this room. I said this at the Lincoln Reagan Day dinner. The talent, the creativity, the intelligence, and the people in this room and in our state, you're telling me we can't come together and fix this education system? I know we can. And that's what we got to do. And I want to invite everybody in this room to join me. This isn't some kind of club that we're meeting privately. I'd like to invite everybody in this room that wants to get involved in this deal. Get with me and we're going to get started on this. I appreciate you guys listening, and absolutely I hope you'll join me in this endeavor. And once and for all, we will do what the legislature has not been able to do in 45 years. Thank you.